My friends, time has come for one of the most heartwarming Hallmark Channel family-friendly video games of all time to finally grace our screens once again. A truly sentimental work of Christian faith that has arrived just in time to greet the new Pope. And as it just so happens, this new Pope hails from the great crime capital. Never mind. The new Pope hails from the great city of Chicago, famous for their delicious, delightful, weirdly layered pizzas, underperforming football team, a baseball team that plays baseball, and a notorious reputation around the mob and gun violence, along with a deep, deep appreciation for Christmas and traditional Christian values. The game in question is the new
Doom of the Dark Ages.
Now, you might be wondering, what does this wonderful, touching video game have to do with a Pope from Chicago?
It's quite simple, really.
Nothing is more essential to Christian faith than staying strapped, am I right? It's like chocolate and peanut butter, and in Doom, you get to use the righteous, chocolatey wrath of God to shoot holy, peanut buttery goodness on tasteless, blasphemous demons, casting them back to flavorless hell.
That doesn't make any sense.
You know what, let's just move on. Doom the Dark Ages follows in its predecessor's footsteps in many ways, except instead of being a futuristic, holy shotgun, holy chainsaw, holy RPG-wielding soldier of God, you get to be a futuristic Knight of the Holy Grail, wielding a holy shotgun and a holy shield chainsaw.
It is very different.
Let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal were great for satisfying that fast-paced first-person shooter gameplay reminiscent of the original Halo trilogy ramped up to 11.
The numbers all go to 11.
Doom the Dark Ages takes the same formula and gives it a sizable hit of the devil's lettuce. Wacky tobacco. Satan's spinach, if you will. Notably, the lack of dashing, double jumping, and strangely sluggish sprinting makes me feel like I'm playing another Doom game underwater. While this isn't inherently a bad thing, and I find the game to be an overall enjoyable experience, I can't help but feel like something is missing. Moreover, the game pushes you into a much more close-quarters playstyle, specifically melee combat, in particular the quick-time critical strikes and shield strikes. These moments can be extremely empowering, delivering that sweet, sweet power fantasy we all crave. It's quite the adrenaline rush, like betting your house and life savings all on black. But like when the foolproof gamble strikes red and you're now divorced, renting out a studio apartment, and scrolling plenty of fish because Tinder is too high-end, all highs must come crashing down. That encouragement to engage in melee, blended with the slower movement, brings a heavy crash when you fall into the trap of fixated, drawn-out exchanges with heavier enemies while taking shots from nearby grunts. Like losing your house due to a crippling gambling addiction, this too can be overcome, but it feels uninspired, giving the impression that you need to play the way the developers want you to play. This game is a notable entry into a franchise that has been an aesthetic darling and has received considerable praise over the last several decades. A series that thrives on demons, fire, brimstone, gore, a tastefully executed, pessimistic, industrial, retro-futuristic world, and, most importantly, extreme metal. Now, Doom the Dark Ages takes a unique approach by taking the story back an untold number of years prior to the modern iterations of Doom. These unknown years place the player into an unknown stage, which feature a strange alien world of pessimistic retro-futurism, except this time with a medieval flair. Dragons, aliens, a giant rock'em sock'em robot. Stylistically, the Iron Lords from the Destiny games readily come to mind, which, to be fair, were one of the coolest parts of Destiny lore. While I am an admitted sucker for knights, demons, blood, aliens, shotguns, and so on, Doom the Dark Ages is meant to be on an alien planet, yet everything feels soberingly familiar. Unfortunately, it's the kind of sober that reminds you that going out to bars was more fun when you were younger. This game feels like id Software merely restyled their previous games and slightly tinkered with the movement mechanics, making them less dynamic. Very little feels new. Again, holy shotgun, holy chainsaw shield, aggressively sci-fi holy energy guns. I think you get the point. As far as characterization goes, Doom 2016 started out with the use of Samuel Hayden as a guide and humanizing entity. But apart from his role in the story, his voice and character created context as you explore a fiery, brutal world. He's a dynamic character with complex motivations and machinations, a great contrast against the classic self-insert protagonist, the mute and vaguely defined Doom guy. The Dark Ages identity sits closer to many other sci-fi shooters, bordering on generic in terms of structure and level design. However, the main villain Azrak does create a bit of intrigue through his own machinations, but his brand of flair is mostly peppered in cutscenes throughout the bulk of the game. To be concise, it's a fairly forgettable sci-fi story of MacGuffin chasing with very little sense of mystery, suspense, or cleverness that we've experienced from previous Doom titles. Not bad, but again, uninspired. Now, many will argue that it's a Doom game, just kill demons and enjoy. And I most certainly do, my friends. I enjoy it for the many reasons I have stated thus far. I do recommend this game, particularly if you're a fan of the Doom franchise. However, if you're looking for a game to push the envelope of what a Doom game can be, this isn't it. I can respect honoring the IP's history and spirit, but there is a point where reverence turns to repetition, or worst case, stagnation. The latter is yet to be determined. id Software chose the safer route, embracing everything Doom was, but not really giving it a sense of what it can be. Even the giant robot and dragon flying missions, while novel for a Doom game, felt very one-dimensional and heavily derivative from a vast plethora of other video game IPs, without offering anything particularly new to the experience. I was thrilled for the dragon riding mission, but my enthusiasm was somewhat truncated when I started having flashbacks. In the end, Doom the Dark Ages follows the footsteps of the Doom franchise, and it does it with a fair amount of heart. It's simple, it's flashy, and it's fun. Yet it ultimately feels like a lesser Doom game with cool techno-medieval paint,
which is pretty cool.
I believe that if your expectations are appropriately moderated, I think you'll enjoy this game. With that all being said, I'm happy to be back making videos, so thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. Happy demon hunting.